Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Before we get started, just to make sure that you all can hear us and you know where the questions box is, why doesn't everyone type in their favorite dinner food? Type in your favorite dinner food into the questions box. I'll start with mine. My favorite dinner food is eggplant parmesan. It's so good. Chicken marsala, excellent choice. Ooh, Michael said a tenderloin steak. Filet. Alrighty, now that we can all hear each other, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, 3 ways to get more out of your website analytics. My name is Heather Frederick, and I'll be your webinar host from Main Street ROI. And for today's webinar, we are very excited to welcome Kelsey George, an account manager at Lucky Orange. And this presentation is going to be about 30 to 35 minutes so that we can leave plenty of time at the end for a live Q&A session. So feel free to type any questions you have into the questions box along the way during the presentation, and then we'll get back to them at the very end of the webinar. And as always, today's webinar will be recorded, and we're going to send out a replay video along with the PDF of the slides to everyone who has signed up. So if you get, calls or you get pulled away for work or anything, no need to worry about it. You're not going to miss anything. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn this webinar over to Kelsey so she can get started.
All right, guys, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. As she mentioned, we're here today to talk about how we can get more out of our website analytics. We all do it. We get on these different types of platforms, and it's exciting, and it gives us great, valuable information. It's almost like a big dump truck coming to our desk and just dumping a big pile of data overload, and you're kind of like, now what? How do I turn all of this information that I've been given into more valuable, actionable insights so I can get more conversions on my website, or make our customer experience better and just more personable to them? I'm Kelsey, and I'm an account manager at Lucky Orange. We're located here out of Kansas City. Lucky Orange provides 10 visitor behavior tools in one app to help anyone with a website learn how to identify what's preventing conversions. Here I work with users on all aspects of their accounts, whether they are new, smaller Shopify merchants, or enterprise level companies such as American Red Cross or Northern Tool. When I'm not at work, I'm at home with my 3 little fur babies who I love dearly. And I'm also busy in preparing in just 3 short weeks to become a mom for the first time. So things are about to get a little crazy around here, but nevertheless. Now, my background is in marketing and client management, which means I've spent pretty much my entire professional career attracting customers and working with the customers. But where did the analytics really ever come in? Many of you are probably a lot like me. Analytics and conversion rate optimization has always been for someone else, people who are well more trained or experienced to figure out what all of that information means, right? I'm not a super techie person at all. I mean, when I first started here at Lucky Orange and someone said JavaScript, I thought we were going to a coffee shop down the road and not talking about a programming language at all. Someone else has always handled the analytics for me. But that's wrong. Really, anyone can do this. No extensive training or budgets needed. You are fully capable to analyze your own websites, landing pages, blog posts, and make changes that drive results for your company. And today we're going to talk about and show you how you can do that. To accomplish that, I'm going to be focusing on 3 main goals that will ultimately help you make changes to your website based on your visitors that will impact your conversion rate, business growth, and overall customer experience. We're going to find ways to use this analytics to dive into what types of people are going to your site, what visitors want from your site, what methods you can use to evaluate which paid ad campaigns are going to be most successful for you. Before we dive in, we have to look at why we're even here. It's all about tackling the conversion conundrum. Across all industries, niches, and businesses, the average online conversion rate is less than 3%. That means for every 100 visitors that are coming to your website, about 3 of those are actually going to make a purchase or convert. Regardless of whether your conversion goal is a sign up, a checkout, a form submission, or something entirely different, that's a really hard number for a lot of people to digest, just 3%. Our instinct is to say that we need to drive more traffic to our website because more traffic equals more visitors. So that has to equal more conversions, right? In reality, driving more traffic ignores the most crucial part of the equation, your website altogether. Here's a great quote from Brian Eisenberg. He's a pioneer in the digital marketing world. To sum it up, start with your website, not your traffic. If you want to tackle your conversion issues, the better the website, the better the visitor experience. And the better the visitor experience, the more likely they are to move through that sales funnel that you've set up through your website. The crazy thing is that people are definitely more willing to pay you for a better experience. Digest that for a moment. 80% of your visitors are absolutely willing to give you more money in exchange for a solid experience. The efforts you put in really will pay off. The problem is you don't always know how to offer that better experience or to find out what those customers want. These are common solutions that you're seeing here on the screen that we see when we want to improve our website. Many people will use Google Analytics to find those conversion pain points, but it involves a lot of monitoring, a lot of training, and a lot of time out of you or your staff. Especially with GA4 coming on fast, it feels pretty overwhelming. Worse yet, issues can't really be resolved in real time. Second one we're seeing here, we'll turn to focus groups to evaluate the website's design, but focus groups are pricey, not necessarily in your own audience, and they're going to provide a more subjective or biased evaluation or results. Third one here, we're going to decide to communicate more with our customers on our website, which alone is fantastic. I'm all for communicating with your customers, but offering a traditional contact us form or a Facebook Messenger chat means that your visitors are not getting their answers while they're still on your site. So what are people doing on your site? We're ready to tackle this conversion conundrum. We want to make our websites better than ever. But now where do we begin? You start by getting beyond those traditional analytics to see what people are actually doing while on your website. Now, there's nothing wrong with traditional analytics. They've been a staple in the digital marketer's toolbox for many years, but they don't give you a full overall picture of what's going on. They give you the basics that you need to take it to the next level. You do this with visitor behavior tools like heat maps or live visitor recordings, sales funnels, and more. Visitor behavior gives you the capacity to analyze your website through the eyes of your visitor rather than being confined to the limitations of traditional analytics that you just see on a piece of paper. You don't just see which pages your visitor experienced, you see exactly where they're clicking, where they're scrolling, and where they're dropping off, what issues they faced while they're there, and what pain points they're encountering. This here is just a classic cartoon, but it illustrates the disadvantage of using traditional analytics alone to determine what people are doing on your website. If you're using something like traditional analytics, it's hard to see if it's a correlation or a causation. What do I mean by that? Correlation shows you that there's a statistical relationship between two variables, regardless of whether it's actually true or not. It opens the door to a lot of misinterpretations, which leads to poor decisions, and in this cartoon's case, a lot of shaved heads. Causation demonstrates where one action caused an outcome. Instead of digging through the data and being overloaded by the amount of information that's sitting in front of you, visitor behavior is going to take you beyond those data points. Here's a good place to start. When looking at an image above, if you were looking at traditional analytics, you would assume that the For Her collection isn't getting any clicks because it's not a popular collection. You may remove it from your homepage altogether and replace it with a different collection, but this is a session recording that we're looking at. So we can see exactly the playback of what people are doing on your website. And through this session recording, we can see that it's not because people are not interested in the For Her collection. The link is actually broken. So when people are clicking on it, it's not taking them anywhere. Or let's look at this example. With the heat map tool, you can see an aggregated view of where people are clicking on your website. You can see here that the areas covered in clusters of orange and red are getting way more clicks than those in blue and yellow. You're getting a bigger overall picture of what people are looking at on your website. So what are we seeing here? We're on a collections page, so the clicks back to the home page look normal, and people are definitely interested in that main navigation that's in the middle there, with the exception of one collection, the under $150. Does this mean that buyers just are not interested in budget-friendly furniture? I'll talk about how we can figure that out in just a few more minutes. Remember that your ultimate goal is to improve your website for better customer experience. You want to find that clear causation of what's preventing conversions. Here, batterystation.co.uk. They wanted to improve their conversions and used our tool to help them watch what happened on their visitor's journey. They found that people were making it to the checkout, but leaving before ever submitting. They used a tool called Form Analytics, which shows you how people are using your forms, whether they're converting, abandoning, dropping off, and what the weakest point of their form is. Here, we can see highlighted that the organizational field had a 43% abandonment rate. Because they served both companies and consumers alone, removing that field really wasn't an option for them. So they took this to their web team and they designed different test methods, such as A/B testing, and just made the organizational field smaller to find their best solution. Finding out why people don't convert is extremely valuable. When I talk to people in marketing, website development, sales, social media, customer support, I often get asked, but how do I find that out? How do I know exactly what they want? As a dog mom myself, I had to include this. When you want to find out what visitors want, you need to engage them in learning about their wants, their needs, and their thoughts. Whatever question you want to ask your visitors in today's world, now you can. What do they really think of your website redesign? What keeps bringing them back to your website? Or are we missing any preferred payment methods like PayPal or Apple Pay? You can do this through surveys, announcements, and tools like live chat, all at your fingertips. Here is My Bait Shop, and you guessed it, they sell fishing lures. My Bait Shop had no problem driving traffic. It was driving traffic through social media and PPC platforms successfully, but their team wanted to find out how they could drive more conversions. They had the inventory, but was it really the right kind of inventory that their clientele was looking for? We would all love to whip out a big old microphone and ask every visitor, what prevented you from purchasing today? Why aren't you purchasing my products? My Bait Shop did the next best thing. They ran a survey using a survey tool, and it asked the question, what additional lures would you like My Bait Shop to carry? With a select number of options for them to choose from. The results, they were pretty astounding. Close to 55% of their visitors just wanted more vintage lures. This allowed My Bait Shop to expand that particular line of products, and they grew conversions over 450% just by figuring out what their customers wanted through a simple survey tool. Yes, 450% is what they grew their revenue by. Here are just a few ideas to get you started on your own types of surveys. The questions you can ask really are virtually endless. It can be used for user experience issues, visitor intent, let's figure out the why behind the but, building brand equity and more. The best thing about it is you can trigger a survey based on your own needs, whether it's by the source of the visitor, how many times they visited your website, their geographical location, custom user data, events, and much more. If you have a pet supply e-commerce site, we'll say, you could specifically target people from a dog-focused Facebook group campaign that you're running. Ask what products their dogs most love or most like to use. The answers are anonymous unless you have previously passed in some sort of custom data, such by doing like a review form or things like that, so you could collect that information. While surveys do help get you feedback from your visitors, live chat connects you with those visitors in real time. Contact us forms are fantastic, but they require someone to leave your website while primed and ready to make a purchase to get the answer. These days with live chat, why not? It keeps them on your website and instantly gets them the answer that they're looking for, so that way they don't have to leave your website and then try to come back to complete that purchase. Here you're seeing a great example. If you see people adding products to their cart, but then they're leaving the cart and going to the shipping page and then just leaving your website, live chat would be a really effective use in this situation. You can watch them in live view if you're using a live view tool or a session recording tool, and then invite them to chat with you while they're struggling on your site. Or you can just set it up to be an automated chat if you're using a chatbot tool or things like that. It can be triggered on user behavior, like spending more than 30 seconds on your shipping page, or an event when they leave the cart to go to a different page, have it automatically trigger. Yes, this does work even if you have a small team, and I can say that from personal experience. We're a rather small team here at Lucky Orange. So if you're looking at a dashboard, you can see daily trends. So what day and what time are your busiest on your website? While you might not be able to have someone sitting on chat 8 hours a day, I bet you could spare 1 to 2 hours around 10 a.m. on a Wednesday in this example to have people be available on chat, because that's when you have the most traffic to your site. When it comes to using chat, it can make a difference between a sale and an abandoned cart. On a site without a chat, you have a process that looks very similar to this. Maybe it's about shipping, maybe it's about something else. Whatever it is, they'll be searching for a way to find those answers. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, they'll probably just send us an email or fill out our contact us form. And you're probably right. But even with a lightning fast response from your client services team, your visitor would still have to leave your website, come back, check their email from your response, and then ultimately go back to your website to make a purchase. Are they actually going to go back? If you have a live chat, the process is a little different. The visitor still has questions, but they see the chat as an option. The answers are available in real time and while they're still on your website. They don't have to leave to get an answer and return to the site. If their question is actually what stopped them from ultimately checking out, now your visitor has their answer and is primed to continue with their purchase. Now you're actually engaging with those visitors. Take that information you've learned and turn it to an action with some sort of announcement tool. Let's say you sell clothes, and every September, the people from the northern states starts to get a little chilly, so they come to your website and you target them with a survey or a chat invite to find out exactly what they're looking for. You find out that they're starting to look for those fall and winter wardrobes. You can trigger an announcement for just those specific visitors to be able to grab their attention at the right time. This announcement type that you're seeing here on the screen is called a lightbox, which is very effective, but it should be used sparingly as it is more intrusive. You can see here it's taking up the whole screen. Someone definitely has to interact with it to get back to your website. Here's another example from our own Lucky Orange website. Our goal was to evaluate popular app integrations. We used our heat maps to identify a specific user group who were active within the integration, and then we triggered a survey for those people who were active. Our support team also would ask people who chatted in for more information about what integrations that they wish Lucky Orange had, what integrations they thought we were missing. This announcement that you're seeing here at the bottom is called a sticker. It's definitely less interruptive, but still able to drive more traffic to your website. When people talk about improving their websites, they talk about their general audience. These are people who came from any source, such as direct or organic, but don't stop there. Dive into those paid ad campaigns too. I mean, after all, you're spending money on them. Many, if not all of you, will be or are running ads to drive traffic to your website. Whether it's the Google PPC, Facebook, Instagram, or everyone's new favorite, TikTok, you're paying money to generate traffic, and hopefully that traffic gets you some sales. What if you're not seeing the sales come through? I can imagine my sales manager looking at me and saying, Kelsey, we ran this ad last month on Facebook, and I'm seeing 500 clicks. That's a lot of clicks for very few sales. Why are sales so low? Those clicks really do make you feel good when you see them, but they're really just a vanity metric. They don't help you evaluate the success or failure of that campaign overall. On the surface, you can filter your data by source. In this heat map, you can see that we're doing just that. You can filter by Facebook or TikTok. The issue is it doesn't separate traffic from your just organic Facebook page or whether it came from your Facebook ad. However, there is something that you can add to all of your campaign links that will help you dive into those specific ad campaigns or ad sets. What I'm referring to here are UTM parameters, and that's exactly what I'm showing you here on this screen. It looks a little complicated if you've never seen it before, but it really is pretty easy. UTM parameters are pieces of code that are added to the back end of your URL to make for easier tracking of those paid ads. This one in particular is through Google, but you can really use a multitude of platforms or tools to make these. All you need is your original URL link, as well as some information to fill in with it. You don't need to fill in every single one of these. You just might need one or two to get going here. Once you add in your inputs, it will automatically generate a campaign link for you to use. Once people begin clicking on it, you'll be able to refine your data by those specific parameters. We personally use them on every single link that we share out, and it's helped us narrow down exactly what campaigns are working best. And it's okay to learn that campaigns failed, but it's really important to know which ones are failing so you can stop running those or tweak them in the future. For example, here on your screen, you're seeing a conversion funnel that has been filtered by UTM parameters specifically. We can see that people from the campaign have a significant drop-off at the home page. I would do some more research by looking into those specific session recordings, which can also be further filtered by UTM parameters, to see if there is some A/B testing on messaging I need to do better to connect with the ad copy or add important details or directing the ad to a product page rather than our home page. You've made it through. Now the only thing left to do is to really wrap this up. Today, we learned how to identify the conversion pain point and hurdles that keep your visitors from becoming customers on your website. You do this by seeing what people are actually doing on your website with tools like live visitor or session recordings. Using traditional analytics, you can only make a best guess assumption because you cannot see it when it's happening in real time. With visitor behavior, it's in real time. You can see exactly why someone left your site or what pain points they ran into while on your website. We learned how to engage with your visitors through methods like surveys, announcements, and chat. These let you engage with your visitors directly to find out their anonymous opinion and let you use that information to drive your next update to your website or your product collections. Lastly, we learned how to better utilize those paid ad campaigns and start using UTM parameters in all of your campaign links to see better data and have newer capabilities and allow you to dive deeper into that data. Find out which campaigns are successful and evaluate how that traffic interacted with your website. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you had a fantastic time. You can take this information back to your office, or I know many of you are still in like a home office setting, to help make your customers happier on your website and ultimately get you more conversions. I've included my contact information here. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have if you think of any after Heather read your guys' feedback. So don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you all very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelsey. So we're going to open it up to some questions now. So if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat. And then you can send your questions along to Kelsey too, if you don't get your questions answered by our time's up. But I guess while we wait for people to come up with questions, if they have them now, Kelsey, I do have a question for you. I was wondering if there's any pitfalls that you find people falling into when just looking at their website analytics, analyzing their analytics, or things that you would warn people against?
That's a great question. So before I started here at Lucky Orange, I didn't even know tools like this existed. I knew of like Google Analytics and more of those traditional analytics that we were talking about. And even as hiring on a new employee recently, he was talking about how his business would go in and make changes for other people's websites and that they were using traditional analytics for that. And I asked them, how did you know what buttons to change or what maybe wasn't working for them? And he said he would look at the Google Analytics and just be like, oh, I noticed sales were down on this page, so I just moved the buy now button up at the top. So basically he was making just a best guess. He had no idea whether that would actually drive changes to his website. And he had never heard of tools like Lucky Orange or other live session recording tools out there. So if he would have used one of those tools to actually go in and watch the recorded sessions of people and see whether they're hitting that button or not, that would have made it a much more better overall experience for his clients that were trusting him with making those changes to his website. So really, I just tell people with those traditional analytics, they're great. We use them here as well, but it's always nice to add a tool like ours or another session recording tool out there so you can actually see what's happening and you're not guessing and wasting time or money making those changes.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelsey. Next question from Colin is, what website insights and optimizations do you prioritize for brand awareness campaigns?
That's a great question, Colin. So we really use our sales funnels and our surveys, things like that. In order to get brand awareness, you have to know what your customers are actually wanting. And a lot of people will do that through social media campaigns to drive them through their websites, running ads, things like that. So you definitely want to make sure you have those UTM parameters set up so you know where those customers are coming from and exactly what those specific customers are wanting. Because people coming from your Facebook ad campaign may want something just a little bit different than people coming from like a Google PPC campaign. So then you can trigger different types of surveys or different types of feedback for those specific customers.
Awesome, awesome. Alrighty, it looks like no one has any more questions at this time. Don't worry though, if you come up with any later, you can always email Kelsey at her email up on the screen. And if you forget Kelsey's email or anything like that, you can always shoot Main Street an email at support@mainstreet.com, and then we can send those questions over to her. But yeah, thank you all so much for joining us for today's webinar, and thanks to Kelsey for all this great information. And just as a reminder, we're going to be sending out the replay video and the PDF of the slide, so you can keep a lookout for that. And we look forward to seeing everyone again at our next marketing webinar. Thank you all, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Bye, guys. Thank you.